Hello and welcome to another episode of the Lockdown Coder. Here I'm still stuck in Sydney, lockdown, but we move on. And today we are doing loops because in the last couple of days we looked at a function which had a loop in, and I think I want to explain how to do those a bit more. And over the next few episodes we may be investigating different kinds of loops in JavaScript as well, which should be fun. Now, also, remember, I'm doing this unscripted, unrehearsed. I've got a vague idea of what I'm doing in the next 10 minutes. But if I make a mistake, don't kill me. I will rectify it when I see it, when I watch it back. And we will rectify it, either in the video or in the next video. So this series is for beginners. For people who just want to dabble in code, have a look at what it's all about. JavaScript, it's incredibly easy. Coding is easy and it's hard. It's one of those weird paradoxes. But to get started, it's pretty easy. And these videos are making it as easy as can possibly be, I think. So really all you need is a computer, the Chrome browser, and that's it. And you just need to type. So let's get started. Loops. So the easiest loop, and one that I think I probably created every day for about 5 or 6 years when I was working in one particular job. That's all you ever seem to do is loop through lists of stuff. So before we had more esoteric looping solutions, and I'm telling you there are lots of them. I might go through every single one actually. That should be fun. And by the time we've done that, you'll really know how to loop in JavaScript. But this one is called a for loop, and that's the most basic one. That's the one you kind of learn first. So the point of a loop is to perform an operation that you need to do many times. Let's start with a for loop that counts to 10 and outputs each number as it goes through each stage of the loop. That doesn't sound too hard, does it? Okay. So a for loop starts with a for, and then parentheses, and inside the parentheses you have to specify the conditions of the for loop. So you need a counter variable, so we'll create one of those. Often we will use I as the counter, so I'll do that here, but you can use anything. You could use A, you could use B, you could use CTR as the counter, you could use counter, whatever. It's a variable, so you have to name it to be something vaguely sensible. After that, we put a semicolon because essentially that's a statement. And then we need a test or a condition. So we need to compare the value of I to the value that we want to count up to. We're going to make it easy and say we want to count up to 10. So if we start at 0, we want to check whether I is less than 10. Because I is going to start at 0 and increase by 1 each time till it gets to 9. 0 to 9 is actually 10 values. So once it gets to 10, it's no longer less than 10. So we want, at that point, we want to exit the loop. We only want to go through the loop 10 times, and then we want to exit the loop. So we would say, is I, well, this statement actually says I is less than 10, but we're asking here, is I less than 10? That's essentially what we're doing. And then you terminate that statement with a semicolon again, and then you specify how you want to increment the counter. We want to add on 1 every time through the loop. every iteration of the loop. So in order to add 1, we do this, I++. I++ essentially means add 1 to I. You could say I equals I plus 1. Or you could say I plus equals 1. The easiest way, say I++. I don't think you need a semicolon there. Now, so that's the initial conditions for the for loop, and then we have to put some code that goes inside the for loop, because the for loop is essentially a code block. All code blocks, as we know, are bounded by squiggly brackets. So we open a squiggly bracket and we put the code inside the for loop. So whilst we're going around the for loop, we're going to be executing the code inside it again and again and again and again, up to 10 times. And then we're going to exit the for loop and carry on executing the rest of the code. There won't be any rest of the code, but if there was, then we'd do that. So now what we want to do is we want to print out the current number. So you already know how to do that. Console log I. And let's terminate that with a semicolon, and then let's finish the for loop there. Now, first time round, it's going to log 0 because I equals 0, but then goes back again into the loop. We add 1 to I and I becomes 1. We do the test. Is I less than 10? Yes, it is. So we go inside the loop again and we log the value of I, which is 1. And so on and so forth until we get to 10 and we can exit. So let's see what happens. We hit enter, the code runs, and we get 0 to 9. There we go. We printed out 0 to 9. So it printed 10 numbers, went through the loop 10 times. Now we could put that in a function just to illustrate that gives us more control and allows us to count to 10 when we want to, not straight away as we just did there. So if I copied that code and I created a function called count to 10, like that, then I've added it to memory and I can now call the function whenever I want, like this. Remember to call a function, use the function name, but you have to put parentheses on the end, because just using the function name is just saying, hey, is this a function? And if you enter, JavaScript with console will say yes, it is, and here it is. But it's not going to run it, which is useless. To run it, we need to actually put parentheses on. That will run the code in the function. So hit enter, and there we go. And that is the first loop, the for loop. The simplest loop you can possibly do pretty much in any coding language, and it pretty much exists in every coding language that I've seen anyway. So this has been the Lockdown Coder. We shall see you in the next episode. Thank you.